Hey guys, welcome to Honey Let's Be Real podcast. It's gonna be just me tonight. Miss Crystal is not feeling well, so it's just going to be me this evening. If you see me looking off to the side, it's because or down, it's because my cameras are kind of funky right now. So we do have the live chat that's in YouTube, and then on my Facebook page. I will have a live chat open as well. So please feel free to chat and engage. Once I'm going to refresh here in a second, and then I will put the stuff that we're going to be talking about on there like I normally do. I already put it on the YouTube site for anybody that is not watching on Facebook. Also, we're going to be getting some new equipment. I'm going to be getting a new computer here shortly, so that will help with some of the quality issues that I've been having with lagging and stuff. So thanks as always for everyone's patience and stuff. This is our 8th show. So it's been really cool. We always appreciate everybody that comes in and listens and participates. We have been doing, for anybody who's new to the show, we have been doing a series on being in survival mode, what that's like for some women, going through perimenopause, watching our health, just all kinds of stuff. It's not so much that it's age related, but it's most of the network that I have connected with are between the ages of like 35 and 50 to 53. I'm currently 48. I'll be 49 at the end of July. So Leo season is almost here. So what we've talked about before, again, was just going from survival mode to soft mode, understanding what soft mode is. We did talk about how you can go from soft mode to survival mode and go back and forth. And that is totally true. I had been at the same company for it was 18 years. I just now am finishing my first full week at my new job. I love it. I'm so glad that I, took the plunge. I wish that it didn't have to be under the circumstances that it was, but again, it just shows that we can be in survival mode, and then think everything is going good and go into soft mode, and then something might set us back, whether it's our jobs, a friendship, a relationship issue. But the important thing is that we come out of that issue, that struggle situation, whatever it was, that we come out of it quicker, that we don't get as stressed out while we're in it, because now we have some tools that can help us. Because remember, we're not wasting our energy on stuff like that. We're using our energy in positive ways to, enforce ourselves, enforce self-motivation, self-love, those types of things. So if you haven't watched the series, all of the shows are recorded live. They're all posted on YouTube as well as our Facebook page. And again, I know that it looks like I'm looking down here, but it's just because of where my camera and stuff is, but I'll have that fixed here shortly. So tonight, wanted to keep it a little bit lighter. We're going to talk about some dating red flags and stuff that I feel like us as women ignore because, well, and I don't even know if we ignore it. I think that we more so think that it's us being insecure versus us being comfortable to say this is a red flag. And we've talked about this before. We did a whole series on it, so some of this stuff might be a little bit repetitive, because we've definitely talked about some of this stuff before. So I'm gonna put a comment in the live chat on Facebook, if it'll let me. Maybe not. So the one thing I have to learn how to do is how to save, so that I don't keep looking crazy on stuff that it saves. It looks ridiculous. It's not letting me put pictures in here. Okay, I'll figure it out. Oh, I'll just put it on here actually. So anyway, so we're going to talk about some red flags. Some of the stuff that that I've, gone through, some of the stuff my friends have gone through, just different stuff here and there that I've heard. So the first slide that I'm bringing up is the dating red flags that we keep ignoring. And it's not just, women keep ignoring it. Because, men aren't the only ones that are out here being extra. We do it too. But for today, we're going to pretend like we're perfect and men suck. I know that is really not the case, but whatever. So I know we've all experienced this if you've been dating at all in the past 7 years, where you just keep getting the same good morning text messages. Good morning, beautiful. Grand Rising Queen. Just, stuff that, okay, you can't say something different. And I'm not talking about like someone you're in a relationship with, because, I text my dude every morning. What's up? Good morning, boo. I love you, blah, blah, blah. But there's definitely been guys along the way when I was dating that it was just a constant, that was the opening. And then throughout the day, there was nothing left. Like I would just be like, oh, good morning. And then if a conversation even tried to be had, the response time was way slow. So that is definitely a red flag. Here was one that was for, guys. If she says all of her exes were crazy, or if he says that, like my favorite is, oh, I got 2, 3, 4 babies' moms, and they're all assholes. None of them will let me see my kids. They're jerks, blah, 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 blah. I cannot tell you how many friends, that's never happened to me personally, but I've definitely had friends or been around guys that were like that. And it was always that their other babies' moms were the problems, but they were always like the common denominator. And I've seen my friends date a guy like that and then unfortunately end up being one of those females. So I feel like if you meet someone and they're always talking about how their exes were crazy versus just saying it didn't work out. Like both of my sons as fathers are amazing guys. It just didn't work out. It wasn't because they were bad people or I was a bad person. It just didn't work out. When they fall in love after 3 days, and I know if you've been single, sometimes we hear it even before then. They're already planning vacations, weddings, just ridiculousness. Like, it's the whole, you started chatting 2 seconds ago and it's, are you going to erase the app? No, I'm not. Are you, what? Or just, again, like love bombing, planning vacations or holidays that are like 3, 4, or 5+ months out. The next one, number 4, is I think females do this to guys more than guys do it to females. but they know your entire Facebook history before the first date. I have definitely been one that has gone on to Facebook pages and, um, you know, commented and then, or not commented, excuse me, Facebook pages, and then like go to see something, and then it's like a picture from like 2+ years ago, and you actually like you accidentally like thumbs it up or heart it or something, and it is the most, it's the most embarrassing thing ever. Um, so I've definitely done that before. Again, super embarrassing. I've done it. Um, I stopped doing that though because years ago, because I just felt like I felt like it was an invasion of privacy. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, I had to turn that down. So I stopped doing it because I just thought that it was intrusive and invasive and an invasion of privacy. So I don't do that anymore unless someone gives me a reason to. Um, and then if they have a whole bunch of different Facebook accounts, Facebook has always been a sore spot for me in relationships because I feel like when somebody acts like they're hiding on Facebook, it's usually because they're hiding something on Facebook. Um, my first experience with that was someone who was like, oh, I'm never on there. I don't even know how to use it. Yet their whole Facebook page was locked down. Nobody could comment on it. He was the only person that could make posts. And then as soon as he would make a post, 24 hours later, not even 24 hours later, all the time, it would become missing. So I thought that was really like it was just super suspect to me. So it was hard for me not to be like, dude, you're trying to hide something. Now, he was always linked to me in my relationship status. So, but at the end, I was correct. And, me trying to be nonchalant about Facebook because I feel like we're adults. And so that shouldn't even be an issue. But I feel like, so many people do use it in an improper way that those of us that are active on social media, it's hard for us to date somebody who's not, because if you're locked down on your Facebook page, I'm probably not going to trust you. Um, and, you know, I really do think that sometimes we do ignore the red flags because, we like the person that's holding them. I've definitely been um, a victim of that knowingly, not a victim in secret. I've definitely known that there were red flags, but been like, dang, I really like this person. Maybe it's not that big of a red flag, or maybe I'm doing the one thing that I feel like us as women, we do the most is we say, oh, it's our insecurities, instead of being comfortable within ourselves to say, I'm not an insecure woman. I'm not an insecure human being. So this is not my jealousy. This is something that is off. So I think it's important that we trust ourselves as women and we acknowledge that it's okay for us to see red flags. And it doesn't mean that we are insecure. I do see that I have a viewer on YouTube. Unfortunately, I cannot see a name. So whoever is out there, thank you for watching. I do have chat open if you want to chat. Um, I'm going to go ahead and change the first slide here just so you guys can follow along with me. Okay, so the next one I have that I made was real red flags versus overthinking. I really wanted to put a lot of research and thought into this one before I put it out there because I think red flags could be some red flags, not all red flags. Some red flags can be different for all of us. So, one of the things that I truly believe is a red flag is when the words and the actions don't match. I think that we all know when something is off because there's that little right there. And you know what I'm talking about, man or woman, it's there. And it's just this little nagging feeling of almost anxiety. And it's like, do I want to trust it? Do I think I'm being insecure? Um, what am I gonna chalk this up to? Well, if the words and the actions don't match, then it is what it is. If you're talking to someone who is constantly talking about, you know, I'm going to take you out, I'm going to do this, I want you to meet my friends, I want you to meet my family, whatever the case is. If you're dating them and those things are not happening, then it's a should be a clear sign that something is off. Again, it doesn't mean that you're being insecure. It means that you're recognizing something that for you is not normal, whatever that may be. Avoiding accountability is a huge one. And men and women alike do this, and I think it's ridiculous when you catch somebody doing something, and it doesn't even have to be something serious like cheating. It could be something incredibly nonchalant. And it's either they're not being honest with you about it or they don't want to accept accountability for it when it comes out. And it's like, we all make mistakes. We're not perfect. But owning up to a mistake and just saying, like, you know what, I'm sorry, can go a long way. At least with me, it does. I have a lot of guy friends. So I will start out and I'll tell, someone that I'm dating, I have guy friends, but I understand that not everyone is comfortable with that. So I'm going to, you give you the opportunity to tell me how you feel about that, and then we can talk about it. And if I'm dating someone that says, I'm not okay with it, then I respect that. My male friends have always been understanding because they do it as well if they get in a relationship with a female. And the friendship kind of just stags. However, I also make sure that if someone says, no, I don't care about that, that I let them know, okay, you may not care about it now, but down the road, you may care about it. So if that ever happens and something wasn't a problem for you now, but it ends up turning into a problem for you later, that's okay. Talk to your partner, your friend, whatever about it, and at least give them the opportunity to, you know, make their own decision if they're okay with it or not. Moving too fast emotionally. Um, I think a lot of us do that on accident. I think a lot of people move too fast emotionally because I think people mistake the you make me feel cared for, you make me feel like someone who is being loved versus I love you. I think that it's okay to be around someone and in that moment you feel loved. Like, oh, this person is really caring for me. They are showing me love at this moment, you know, 3, 4, or 5 weeks in or whatever, versus being with somebody and then having that moment like, I really love this person. I'm really in love with this person. So I think that someone who emotionally moves too fast, especially the older we get, you know, they're either one, not mentally mature enough, or two, they're gaslighting you. So, I really don't want to deal with either one of those things, but nobody's perfect. We're not robots, right? So if you're going to deal with one or the other, just make sure you know which one it is. Um, they only contact you when it's convenient. They disrespect their boundaries. make you feel confused is a big one. I feel like people that are known to do this kind of stuff are huge on trying to make the person that they are engaging with feel confused so that it throws you off. Um, make you feel anxious more than secure. That is a big one for me because I am an anxious person, anyways. So if I feel extra anxious, like more so, then I definitely know something is off. I definitely know that something is not right. For anybody that's joining on Facebook, I apologize if I can't chat back and forth. It's just um, with Crystal not being in, I'm trying to watch everything. Um, and then some of the stuff that I think isn't always a red flag. Um, I feel like people are terrible about this. When it takes more than a few minutes to text back, people freak out. I'm definitely one of those people that sometimes it can take a little bit longer to text back. Um, and I think it's insane when someone takes a nap and wakes up and they've been broken up with, plans were canceled, you are now Satan. It's just, I think that's really ridiculous. I think that if you're one of those people, you're the red flag. And I probably just irritated a lot of people, but think about it. If you trust your person and you call them or text them and they don't answer, and that's not normal, wouldn't you think like, oh, they're probably taking a nap or they're busy? They'll call me back or text me back when they're done. Like I just, that to me is just weird. Um, someone who doesn't love social media, again, that's hard for me because I am active on social media. Not super active. Like I don't text about breakfast and lunch and dinner, but I do post here and there. I do like to post about my relationship though, especially if I'm dating someone who I'm really into. Because that's just, I don't know, it's a girl thing. So I think females are probably harder on guys than this because we are more on social media. We want to do that. We want to post when we go out with our boyfriends. We're proud. We like to, have it out there. It's just how we are. But just because someone doesn't like social media, it doesn't mean that they're hiding something. Especially if you go on their social media page and you see that they're not active on there, like they only post something like once every 2 months, then you might want to give them a break. Um, someone who needs alone time, that's not always a red flag. I need alone time. I definitely am dating someone who needs alone time. And I don't know about girls, you guys right now, but I've definitely noticed that as guys get older, their men periods are getting a little worse. And for any man out there who says that he doesn't go through a monthly mental period, bye. Because yes, you do. And if you don't know what that is, it's just because the female's never told you, but you do. So I am dating someone who definitely does. And even though I don't technically, I do. And there's times where you need your alone time. And that does not mean that you're someone that shouldn't be dateable or whatever. It's not a red flag. Um, someone who has different hobbies, you know, this one is kind of a fence for me because if you have like 3 or 4 or 5 hobbies and you know you're like spending all your money on like impulsive hobby shopping, that might be a red flag for me. um but I have a bunch of hobbies because I have ADHD and I get bored, so it's not always a red flag. um and then doesn't immediately open up emotionally, that's definitely not a red flag. I can't stand it when that is an excuse that people use, like, oh, well, he won't talk to me about this. Okay, well, if you're pushing him or maybe he's just not comfortable talking. I mean, I understand that for us as women, that's what we tend to do more so than others, but it's not a requirement. And, I think that men, especially our age, they're kind of, sorry, this hair is poofing out and it's getting on my nerves. I hate watching myself on camera. Um, they were raised not to open up immediately or emotionally. They were raised to keep it to themselves. So I feel like that's why a lot of men our generation are not able to do that, and it's definitely not a red flag. It just means that they're probably going to hold stuff in a little bit more, and as an adult man or woman, if you're going to date someone like that, if you can't be soft, if you can't let them come into their own with you, then you probably shouldn't be wasting their time. Um, and I like what's on the bottom of here where it says one time equals human versus pattern equals information. And I know, one time I think is a little harsh. I definitely think you need to see something 2 to 3 to 4 times before it's a pattern. And I don't mean physicality or verbal or cheating either, but more so if you think, that him needing alone time is a red flag, or her, is it something that's just happening once a while, or is it something that happens all the time? If it happens all the time and that becomes that person's pattern, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. It just means that it's their pattern and they may not be for you. Um, so again, try not to, I know as women or human beings, we tend to think that that little feeling in our chest is insecurity, but it's not. That is our instinct. That is something telling us that something is wrong. And that something wrong doesn't have to be the end all be all of the job or the friendship or the relationship. It could just mean that there is something on your chest that you're not sharing with your partner, and you need to get it off your chest. So if you're one of those people that is on the opposite side and you notice that you're dating someone and you're not able to open up emotionally, I think it's really important that you tell your partner, like, has nothing to do with you. The things that I'm comfortable talking about, I talk to you about those things. Because, I don't think men realize how sensitive we are, how personal we do take things. And if, I know a lot of women say that we don't, but yes, we do. At least me and my friends do. And I don't mean personal in the sense of we're going to cry about it and die about it. I mean, it's just like, well, what did I do to cause that? It's just something that I feel like we do. If you don't agree, it's cool. And then the last one. And the last one is questions that we can ask that could help um, reveal the red flags. There's nothing like open ended questions. You can ask someone an open ended question and they'll talk for forever. And I think, especially with men or women that are introverts like myself, when you ask us an open ended question, we usually will get comfortable because we're talking and not even realize we're talking, and it kind of goes from there. Um, so one of the things that it mentions on here is saying, what did your last relationship teach you? Um, what we could listen for instead of, oh, don't trust people, or, don't do this or don't do that. Maybe listen for them talking about accountability and growth. Um, I was kind of glad when I seen that the research that I did, or the little bit of stuff I did, that showed that, because I have tried to always be somebody who, when I walk out of a relationship, take the feedback that I received, um, and see where I can become better. Even if if it's something that's like, I had no control over, or that's just who I am, it could be different. But I feel like, we all have room for improvement. So if silver linings really help me sometimes. So if I've been in a bad relationship, or even a good one, it didn't work out, I do try to take something from it. So I think that's a good point, to listen for accountability. If you ask them, when you're upset with someone, how do you usually handle it? Um, I think some of these are kind of, I don't know if you, I guess I would have to ask face to face. I don't know if they would feel like they were in a job interview, but what you're learning to hear though is how they handle conflict. And my niece said something to me, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago, or maybe not even that long ago, but she said something to me that at the time, and I'm way older than she is, and I was like, wow, I didn't even think of that. You're younger than me, and that is like super insightful. She made a comment that you should never live with someone, or, you know, become super committed to someone that you've never seen go through different kinds of emotions. So some of the emotions that she talked about was conflict, if you've never seen them broke, if you've never seen them angry or stressed. Now, you can't say, oh, if you've never seen them go through somebody that's passed away, that's ridiculous, because that's not their fault if they haven't gone through that. Um, but the relationship that I had, actually, I think I was in when she said that to me. Yes, I was. It was very interesting to me because she was correct. The relationship I was in for 2 years, I had never seen this person get angry because we never argued. And because I'm not an arguer. I don't text people 50,000 times a day. I'm just, you know, see you when you get home. So she was correct. If you haven't seen somebody struggle through certain things that are everyday emotions, and you don't know how they're going to react, that could be a problem. And I'm not saying like go start an argument with someone, but maybe pay attention. So when you ask someone that question or something, to that effect, you want to listen to seeing how they handle conflict. Um, the next one said, what is something you've worked on improving about yourself recently? I wouldn't ask that question out loud, or that way, I guess, again, it sounds like a job interview. But you could, work it into, is there anything you've been doing, or, I guess that's kind of asking about hobbies. Maybe if they work out, you could, you know, go that way. But, what they say that we should be listening for is self-awareness and maturity. So I don't know. I just think that asking that question outright is kind of odd, but if you could figure out a way to ask it, um, who are the people you're closest to and you're listening for healthy support systems? I wouldn't say it that way, but I will say that I have dated people that did not have friends, whether it's because they moved here or their family didn't live here, whatever. The guys that I've dated that did not have a support system, friends or family or whatever, versus the guys that I've dated who did have a good support system, whether it was they had a good friend network or they were close with their family. I do feel like the guys that came from the healthy support systems were sometimes easier to deal with. Not always, but I do think it shows if someone doesn't have any friends. Like, why don't you have any friends? Like, that's just, I don't know. And I could, I'm not judging. Not everyone has friends. Some people aren't, they moved here and they've just never gotten a chance, or they're introverts, so they've never been out like that. And I get it. It's just, I think that, because I have a son who is older who doesn't network at all. So I do know that it's like that. But it just, I think as we get older, maybe trying to figure out a way to network and make friends, whether it's going to work out or just, I don't know, just it's not healthy. Um, what does a healthy relationship look like to you? And I think that's important that you ask someone that, because I think that we are always focused on our deal breakers. We don't think to ask the person that we could be going out with, well, what are your deal breakers? Something I do could be a deal breaker. If they say, I don't like people that drink soda, well, that's a deal breaker for me because I drink soda. Which is silly, but you know what I mean? So I think number one, knowing what your deal breakers are and what your version of a healthy relationship is, which is going to be different for everybody, is important. So like my deal breakers are, I won't allow anyone to cheat on me. That's ridiculous. Or to put their hands on me. That's ridiculous. Or to disrespect my kids. That's ridiculous. Or to lie, because there's just no need to at this age. I'm sorry. Just like I have a big problem with it. So those are my 4 deal breakers. And the lying one is almost like a fence deal breaker, but the first 3 are deal breakers. I've never stayed with anyone who has cheated on me. I've only had someone do the second part once, and that was during the breakup. So, that definitely was a deal breaker. And so, yeah, you got to know your deal breakers, and then know the person's deal breakers, and then you can figure out, do we have the same values? Do we have the same respect for people around us? That says teamwork, but you know, um, what's a boundary that you've learned that's important for you? Which I do think that's important, because everybody's boundaries are different. So some people don't like physical affirmations, some people don't like verbal ones. So I do think it's important that you figure out what your boundaries are and what their boundaries are, and if there's boundaries on stuff that don't coincide with one another, that could be a problem. Um, and again, down here it says that you want to trust actions more than words, and I agree with that. Some people say that, oh, me saying it to you, no, I want you to say it as well, but I need to see it. I need to see that whatever it is that you're trying to sell me verbally, you're following up with it. Again, pay attention to patterns. If you catch someone lying to you all the time about dumb stuff that means nothing, well, imagine what kind of big stuff they're going to lie about. Don't ignore your intuition. And we've talked about this several times. Intuition is not insecurity. It means that something is off, and it's okay for you to ask questions. Asking questions is not accusing somebody of doing something. You can simply ask a question and say, hey, I have a question. And if the person gets all defensive because you're simply asking a question and not insinuating, it's not saying that they're guilty, but again, how are they handling the conflict? A healthy relationship brings peace and not constant confusion, and that is correct. If I am in, a relationship, or if I'm dating someone, or if a situationship, whatever you want to call it, if it becomes work, I'm done. And I understand that there's always going to be, a struggle, or it's going to be hard, but not in the beginning. In the first 3, 4, 5 months, if we're constantly arguing, or um, I'm confused about what's going on, that's not going to work for me. I need to be with someone who um, I can be around you in silence. I can talk with you. We can laugh. We can joke. Again, it's You know, it's a peaceful situation. You're supposed to bring your partner peace, not chaos. And that goes for the person on the opposite side to us. Um, you know, we're not supposed to be waking up choosing violence every day, ladies, because some of you do. Um, and you know, again, it's just, it really boils down to, I think, just being comfortable with yourself, knowing what you're looking for, being comfortable with talking to people, making sure that you're getting the information from them that you need. And trust me, I'm one of those people that doesn't like to ask a lot of questions. I don't like to seem intrusive, but I've definitely learned the hard way during relationships, friendships, jobs, that if you don't ask questions, you really can't get mad when it's not answered. So, you know, before we point fingers at our partners, friends, whatever, for not answering a question, did you ask it to begin with? Did you make your question with your intention clear? And if you didn't, and you're intimidated or you're nervous, write a letter. I know that that's kind of outdated. Some people might think that's corny, but if you're just not good at talking, then sometimes it's better to just write a letter. Don't. I'm okay with texting. I don't really like to talk that much, so texting works just fine for me. I can have a whole kind of, um, you know, theriatum conversation via text. That was a Shaunaism, by the way. I know that's not a real word. So, but you know, again, just talking about some red flag stuff, some stuff that we might not see, or stuff we might see, maybe stuff we didn't know was a red flag. And again, I'm not saying that if someone does this, they're a bad person. So don't like run and tell your boyfriend or your husband, oh, you're doing this, so it's a red flag. It just means to pay attention. Again, look for patterns, things of that nature. Um, if you haven't watched the shows, again, they are on YouTube. They're also on the podcast's Facebook page. So please feel free to go back and watch the episodes. The catfish one was fun. I think we should do one of those again. Um, and of course, if you do go to the YouTube channel, please subscribe and like the channel. If you watch the stream, if you wouldn't mind liking it. If you guys have any show ideas, you can always email the show. You can also message me. You can post something on the page. You can message Crystal. You can we can tell people that you've asked us to do the show, or we can keep it private. You know, whichever you guys want. I'm going to post the email address. There you go. If you guys have any ideas, like I said, feel free to share them with us. Or if you want us to talk about something, we can do that as well. And then here is our YouTube channel. It's also linked everywhere, so you should be able to find it. But that is it for today. It's not going to be as long of a show because Crystal's not here, so I don't have any back and forth. But somebody asked me the other day something that I was wearing, and they liked the way it smelled. So I wanted to, I don't know if you guys shop at Five Below. I don't like to wear perfume in the summertime. It doesn't, perfume in my, I don't know, just in the summertime don't mesh well. So I like using oil or body spray. I bought some last year. Five Below has this stuff called Fresh Feels. I bought the gummy bear. It was purple last year, and it smelled so good. I didn't see that kind this year, but when I went shopping for one of my best friend's birthdays, I found one for her. I think I got her the peach one, but I ended up getting this one. It's strawberry, and it smells so good. And it's not just body mist, it's also a hair mist, um, which I love when someone walks by me and they smell good and like I can smell their hair. So I'm real big about spraying my hair and having my hair smell good. So you can't, I don't know if you can see it because it's backwards again, but it is a body and hair fragrance. So I think it was like $5 a bottle, and they're, you know, they fit in your purse. I've got one that I put in my car just because they smell super good. So you could have a look-see. But thank you for everyone that watched the show. If you were chatting and I didn't get a chance to respond, again, I do apologize. Just, you know, doing it by myself today. So I hope everyone has a good evening. I hope everyone has a good weekend. If you give me a few minutes, I will post this so you can watch it if you weren't able to join us live. And I hope you guys all have an awesome night. Peace.
We hope you enjoyed the show. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Stay blessed.